It is the fifth Mascot. It's available only on WCPO.com.
Right here.
With PJ O'Keefe back for our Thursday ritual with the Reds. Now, I've been very consistent in what I've said on this show since day one, that this team has no chance of winning, that it's structured poorly, that the only way this team can survive is to focus on 2015. PJ, I said it day one, I said it last week, and I'm saying it again.
You ever feel like you're stuck between a championship ping pong match, going back and forth and back and forth? That's kind of how I feel about the Cincinnati Reds right now.
They tease you.
Ah, man.
You know what it is? It's like you go to the dance, right? And there's that pretty girl, and she says, "Would you like to dance with me?" And so you go out and you dance with her, and then you dance with her once. She says, "I'll be right back," and then she disappears. That's what this is like. It's like one day you think, yeah, the next day you think, what just happened?
And the punch isn't spiked, so it's not helping. Yeah, we can we win on a big stage? Because earlier in the season, we had our 7-game swing right before the All-Star break, and things were looking up. And now you look back at it, and did it really matter? Did it really matter?
That's brutal.
Here's your big time.
That's brutal.
Game market record. All these teams are big markets. And it is just ugly. Now, the Brewers, there was a shining moment earlier in the season, as I mentioned, but when it counted right after the All-Star break, after all that momentum, cripey.
Well, with the exception of the Red Sox,
yes.
Every one of those teams have something in common.
And that is?
They have above average to very good rotations.
That is true.
Even the Yankees. I think the Yankees' rotation is World Series-esque. But anybody that has a good rotation, that has 2 or 3 guys at the top of their order, that's top of their rotation, is pretty good, this team struggles against. And this isn't breaking news. This has been historically.
Yeah, last decade at least. My goodness. Yeah, and that's certainly the numbers back that up.
You seem down today.
I am down today. I'm down about this last week.
Deflated.
And I am. I'm in the pool, and there's a hole in the bottom of the raft, and the water's taken on, and I feel like that's going to be a continual trend for this season. My optimism is waning, Kenneth.
But what this is it's a 500 ball club.
Yeah.
And it'll flop on 2 games to the better, flop on 2 games to the worse. It'll be 5 to 6 games out at first. It might get as close as 3 to 4, and then that's the mark of a team that can't, as we just saw, can't win consistently.
Yes.
And has nothing defining. This team has nothing defining about it. What do you look? Starting pitching? Okay, starting pitching is very good.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But is their starting pitching nailed down, shut the other guy down great? Maybe Cueto.
Yeah, one.
Maybe Latos.
From time to time.
But Bailey is meteoric. Leak is meteoric. Is that right? Meteoric? Mediocre.
Mediocrity.
That's what I was trying to say.
That's a good way to transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, the losses have been agonizing.
Ooh.
They have just been tough. I'm squeezing this. It's a stress ball today.
Yeah, but let's have full disclosure here. You're a Red Sox fan.
Ooh, don't out me like that.
Come on now.
Don't out me like that.
They're agonizing and come on.
I'm an AL.
Are you a Red Sox fan?
They are my AL team.
Okay.
If it came down to it.
So all this cackling before we went on had nothing to do with it.
No, nothing. It was merely
just
the situational.
But these losses are. They are. They're agonizing. It's like the other day against the Red Sox. I've never seen this before. In one inning, they had 5 fouled bunt attempts. I've never seen that before in my life. They get the game-tying run picked off second. They get yet another guy thrown out at home. That's 25 if you're scoring at home.
Yeah.
It's just and at what point then does that fall back on that guy?
This guy indeed. Yeah, the 1-run losses. There comes a point where your talent brings you so far, but your will has to take you the rest of the way. And 1-year evaluation of a head coach is not easy because he inherited so much. You and I both know that.
The last guy did very well with it.
Well, and making the playoffs is one thing, but then we go back to those big games. Say in the MLB this year is nothing short of boring, really. There's nobody who stands out other than the Oakland Athletics in the AL.
Right.
There's no one team that you point to and say that's our favorite, and they're going to run away with it. So that's the bright spot here. There is opportunity, and particularly in our division, taking a look at the standings here.
Well, yeah, that's what's keeping them in it, is the division stinks. PJ, 28 one-run losses. You have that. you have that, I think you lead the division.
Yes.
And worse, 25 times you had a guy thrown out at home plate.
Right, and that's Steve Smith, who we all know and love.
I don't love him.
No.
I don't know about you.
Him either. I just lied.
I can't speak to your personal life.
We're still in it. We're still in it. You look at some of the other second half season records from teams like Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, and St. Louis. These guys are right around 500 also. So we're not falling off just yet. Here you go. Here's our numbers, the wild card, division leaders.
That wild card's a bunch of hooey. I mean, look who's in front of them. You got the Braves, Giants. You got two division rivals in front of you in the second wild card.
Yeah, and the Braves are falling fast, and the Giants haven't been anything short of mediocre since we swept them in San Francisco in the first half of the season. What we're going to have to really look toward is down the road here, when we do start piling up those games at the end of the season, particularly against Pittsburgh. We got a lot left. That's when it's all bets are off the next time that the Central comes to town and vice versa.
What's killing me here, though, PJ, Chris Negron, okay?
Yes.
They're squeezing every ounce of energy out of that dude, right? I mean, he's found money. Jack Hanahan is a blank.
We're done. We're done with him.
Ramon Santiago, they're squeezing everything they got out of that dude.
Yep.
But we're seeing why they're not everyday players. You can't. And all this Brandon Phillips is going to come. Where's Joey Votto?
Well,
where is this guy? I saw him at the tennis match last night.
Oh, good.
I mean,
how is he?
I don't know. He had a cap. He didn't have a Reds cap on.
No.
But I mean, this has got to be the mother of all quad injuries. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't think in the history of quads. When we're going back to like 1960 with
lots of quads.
A lot of people didn't have quad muscles before 1960.
It's true. It's a new
evolution. In the history of quads, nobody has been out this long. Nobody.
Yeah, there's something else there, and we talked about maybe just saving him, playing for next year. But the fact is, even if Joey wasn't Joey, he wasn't himself, he wasn't the big slugger of past.
$25 million a year.
Yeah, even if he wasn't that guy, he's still better than anybody else we have.
What if you had carpal tunnel, right? You run WCPO.com. What if you had carpal tunnel and you went to the guy that runs the web, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you go to Brian and you say, look, I got carpal tunnel. I'm just going to take the rest of the year off. But hey, keep paying me, and I'll show up at the tennis match with some baseball cap on. Yeah,
it doesn't work that way. And honestly, I would love to just have Joey sit in the batter's box. They're going to walk him 4 out of 10 times anyways.
Right.
So then you got a base runner, and so you pinch hit for him. And hey, there's one more run than you ever had in the rest of the time.
Maybe we should talk about history, huh?
Yeah, we've been doing this lately, trying to take a break from reality.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Let's do that. Petey Rose.
Oh yes.
He's been in the news lately. Yeah. He's going to be coaching in the Florence Freedom,
right?
Mm-hmm. Some early September.
And of course we're coming up on the ban here,
yes.
The anniversary of the ban. But this week in Reds history was the Hit Kings' last at bat. That would be the 1986 season.
That is. I believe you're right.
28 years ago.
Oh man, yeah, it's
28 years ago.
But you look back on that wonderful, illustrious career 28 years ago this week. His last hit, pinch hitting in the 8th inning, was a 9-5 loss against the Padres here at home, and
he had a lot of hits, didn't he?
Yeah, that's not breaking news either.
You know what I always thought about Rose, because I was working in Tampa at the time when he was the player manager, and everywhere he went, it didn't matter whether he was in the field or whether he was in the batting cage or talking to his coaches. He always had a bat in his hand. Always had a bat in his hand.
Yeah.
Whenever, and it didn't matter. It was almost like how a kid will have a pacifier. You know that some kids need pacifiers.
Yes, I did.
Did you really?
When I was a kid.
Oh, now. Oh,
not recently.
Not now.
No.
I'm not sure whether Pete needed a pacifier.
No,
or not.
probably.
But he almost carried that around like a pacifier everywhere he went as a player. It's almost like he couldn't let go.
Yeah.
But it was 28 years ago this week.
Yeah, last time we saw Pete, 303 career average. I mean, you just saw the numbers on the board. He's we all know he's a legend, and just kind of bringing that back to modernity, man. What we wouldn't give.
Bring it back to what?
To modernity.
Modernity. What do you want? Modernity leave?
Yeah, modernity leave.
Okay.
It's modern leave.
Modernity.
What I wouldn't give to have someone like him in the clubhouse carrying around a pacifier.
Oh yeah. Because they're a bunch of babies anyway.
That's right.
You know what I'm happy most about Pete Rozzo is he got out of the game as a 300 hitter.
Yeah.
I think it bothered, even though he was not a guy that you would look at and say he was as consistent a hitter as Rose.
Right.
But I talked later on in life to Mickey Mantle, and it galled him that he stuck around for that one last year and his average fell to 287, 297.
Yeah. And you see that with a lot of, Ricky Henderson, who was in the league for a reason, to steal bases.
Yeah.
His average did the same thing
Yeah.
his last couple of years. He just stuck around too long and ended up dipping and dipping and dipping, and you lose sort of that legacy.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you get into modernity.
Modernity leave. Let me ask you something, Kenneth.
Yes.
What's your pregame ritual? What do you do before your hometown Reds take the field? What's your ritual?
I like to wake up early in the day. I don't sleep. I go to bed at 4 a.m. I get up about 4:45.
True story.
When I get up, what I like to do is at first is go out on my deck. And it's just as the sunlight is coming and the twilight is being enveloped by the dawning of a brand new day.
And birds chirping.
Birds chirping, seals clapping, everything. And I like to go out on the deck, and I like to have at about 10 of 5 a nice snifter of Courvoisier. And then I'll go upstairs, and what I'll do is I'll find what my mood is that day, and I will dress accordingly. And then I will have a bowl of cornflakes.
Healthy.
And then go to wherever the game is, whether if it's in front of my TV, I'll get that all ready, or if I go to Great American Ballpark, I'll go there, or if I have to come to work, I'll come into work. But the one thing I always begin my day with is a walk out on my deck just as the last star of the evening is giving way to the great star that we know as the sun. That's my pregame ritual.
Deep thoughts with Kenneth Brewer. I get a hot dog. That's about it. Mr. Satin, our correspondent, went to find out what others' pregame rituals are, and there is a common theme. Can you guess what that theme is?
What I just said that I do?
Courvoisier. The Courvoisier is the theme.
Hey, what's happening? This is Mr. Satin down here at the ballpark for the 5th Mascot, and we want to know, what's your pregame ritual? What do you do for pregame?
Pregame, I like to put a little Vaseline behind the ear, because you never know when you're going to have to throw a home run ball back, and I like to whip it.
Oh, nice.
I want you to throw a spitter. That's all I like to do.
So you're up there, I'm catching it.
I'm up there.
Do you have a
catch
glove?
the ball.
You have a
no,
glove?
no,
No glove.
barehanded.
No.
Barehanded. You don't get on ESPN top plays with a glove.
No, you don't.
You're barehanded.
No.
Barehanded,
Yeah,
Vaseline, whip it.
What kind of pregame rituals do you have?
Couple leg toe touches.
I like it, yeah.
Back stretch.
Yeah.
And then lots of beer.
A little meditation before the game.
For sort of a, we need to win this kind
Exactly,
of thing?
exactly. And there was extra meditation today because we really need to win this game today.
Pre-game, I guess, just make sure I got all my Reds gear and red underwear, red shorts, red everything.
You got the red skinnies down there, huh?
That's right. Tighty whities all the way.
Nice. Tight reddies. What are your pregame rituals for the Cincinnati Reds?
Pregame ritual, Skyline chili,
Here it is.
and buying a bag of peanuts.
That's classic.
Well, maybe a beer or 5.
Yeah, I like that.
Maybe say a prayer, maybe.
Yeah, we need a good prayer today for them to win, right? Pre-game rituals for the Reds. Do you have any pre-game rituals?
We like to go to Holy Grail and pregame.
Pre-game. Now, what does pre-game mean? I'm assuming there's some adult beverages involved.
Yes.
Yes. Is it as many as we can count on our hands?
Right now, yes.
What does the post-game ritual look like?
Going to Holy Grail.
So we're going to go back. It's a double header at the Holy Grail for you.
Yes.
Love it. You got any post-game rituals?
If the Reds win, I drink beer. If the Reds lose, I'll drink a beer.
That's keeping consistency right there.
Yes.
Do you have any post-game rituals for?
Celebrate. Pool parties, hot tubs.
What? I'm going to. I'm coming with you.
Something.
Just try to beat the crowd out and get home as fast as I can. Beat the traffic and all this construction going on. Honking, swerving, flipping some signals to people.
Right. Different signals. Right?
Yes.
What are you doing post-game?
Drink at least 12 PBRs. Pabst Blue Ribbon beer.
Yeah, that's a good one.
1846.
Wow, that is an old brand right there.
Good
This
enough
is
for
true.
1846. Good enough for me.
Go Reds! Go Reds!
You get the feeling people drink beer in this town?
I think they might.
This is a beer city right here, you guys.
Yeah.
Mr. Satin,
Oh,
welcome
man.
to the show, as
Thank you,
always.
thank you,
Fine
thank you.
work on the street.
I
Yes.
appreciate it. Those guys are ready for a win. We couldn't deliver, but they were still drinking and in spirit.
How hammered were some of those people?
Well, there was a young lady there who...
The blonde that goes to the Holy Grail?
Yeah.
Apparently
She's-
lives at the Holy Grail.
I think she's there right now. There was a swarm of cops around us too, which made it pretty funny. So
Really?
she was getting the message out there.
I got her message. Yeah.
Yeah, she unfortunately remained anonymous with those
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
large
sure,
sunglasses.
right.
We don't need to reveal who she is.
But what I think is important here is that when things don't go well in Cincinnati, you drink a lot of beer.
Yeah.
And when things go well in Cincinnati, You drink a lot of beer.
Right. I guess still at 500 we're drinking beer, so.
Because you're not fish or foul, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you got to stay afloat somehow.
Yeah, that's
Mine
true.
as well, and I'm glad
That's
that one
true.
guy got
How many
specific.
beers do you consume when you go to a game, PJ?
Oh, night game, day game.
No, just you don't have to. I mean, this isn't
Doesn't
something.
You want
make a
averages.
difference.
You want
Right.
averages.
Yeah, just not incriminating yourself. But
no,
I mean, how many would you have?
On a good night,
Yeah.
1.5.
Well, how about you, Mr.
Wow, I usually go for a handful. If we're winning, I'll go for a
handful
handful
of beers?
Does that mean this?
What?
Do you carry them around like
Fifth
this?
mascot.
Oh, that's fair.
But you can't afford. I mean, you go broke
Well,
buying
that's
beers
true.
down there.
That's
It's
true.
I remember. I'm old enough to remember when you could get a beer for like $1 at a game.
Really?
That's going
unheard
back
of.
Is
like
that Crossley?
40.
That's unheard
Huh?
of. I
That's
think you're
Crossley.
lying.
Yeah,
numbers.
that's going
I
back
think
to
you're
like
lying.
the late 60s, brother.
Yeah, I think you're lying. Although, minor side
Well, I
note,
wouldn't be the
Cincinnati was named one of the best beer ballparks, number 2 in
Nice.
MLB.
Hey, they're
Supports
doing-
the drinking.
They're doing a great job down there. I mean, all the local breweries. Moorline's been around for a while, and Mad Tree and Ryan Guys. It's a good city for beer right
You're
now.
one of the guys-
$13.
You don't remember Burger Beer, do you?
Oh yeah,
Remember Burger
they
Beer?
start 14K, right?
Yeah.
No, it's Hudapole.
That's
Oh, yeah, right.
Burger,
My
Burger
bad,
was
my
similar
bad,
though, similar,
Right.
just as
Yeah, they were
bad
spelled.
taste.
One was spelled with a capital H.
Yeah, yeah.
Back to the ball field,
Yes.
rather than our brewery.
Yes.
We talked about this a little bit earlier, and we're going to get Mr. Sattin's take. If there's one guy on the team who's got the world on their shoulders,
Yeah, that's a good one right
it's
there.
this guy, Mr. Johnny Cueto.
Yeah.
How awesome has Johnny Cueto been this year?
Beyond.
Beyond awesome.
Unreal.
I mean, the numbers they speak for themselves, as they usually do. 14-6, which could be better if we had any inkling of offense. 2.05 ERA, 182
Crazy.
strikeouts in just about 180 innings. That is one strikeout per inning. That is phenomenal.
PJ, you and I both
man.
think he's going to win. He's going to win 20.
Yes,
He'll win 20.
He'll get there, especially at this rate. It's his second half of the season. He won NL Player of the Week, of course, just recently, which is a great honor, and he was celebrated as such this week.
And who is our? We should give a real plug again to our illustrator.
Yes,
Yeah, it's
Kevin
killer.
Necessary. That
Yes.
was his cartoon. He
Yes.
throws those to us weekly.
But
Awesome.
when you think
he
about
brushed
it,
up on his Spanish for that one too.
I saw that. That was strong.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, all the great pitching that they've had this year, wasted because they can't push runs across the plate, or because the third base coach is, I don't know where he is. He's behaving like it's his first day in long pants. And
beers.
you've got, it could be.
Coaching Little League.
And it's like, you're not going to get what they're getting this year in and year out. And I mean, I could see a scenario next year where, okay, we're going to address the hitting now, and then they don't get the pitching that they got this year.
Yeah, and Johnny is probably the most valuable player that I can think of right now, willing their team to win. I mean, the 8 innings shutout, the complete game 2 runs.
Right.
There are very few other players out there. And as we mentioned earlier, this has been sort of a boring year, a stat window. Nobody's really jumping off the page as far as really picking their team up and taking them by the horns. But Mr.
This
Johnny
guy
Cueto,
is, yeah.
he's doing that.
The other thing he's doing, too, is for the longest time in baseball, there was this misconception that an undersized right-handed pitcher would not be durable or hold up. And Roy Oswalt went a long way in debunking that myth, but I think he's picked up where Oswalt left off and run with it. I think a lot of pitchers that are going to be under 6 foot, that are going to come along here in the next 2, 3, 5 years, they owe a lot to what Johnny Cueto is doing, because there was a real prejudice against those kinds of sized pitchers before him.
Yeah, Mike Leake right behind him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday watching that game, we were commenting on Cozart. Not to jump the gun here, but the guy's, what'd you say earlier? He's a blank, right? I like that term, a blank. Fill in the blank. Mike Leake gets up there, first pitch, it's out of the park. I mean, we got pitchers who can hit. We don't have fielders that can hit. But
I don't want to ape LaRussa, but why not? If you're batting Leake, I put Leake ahead of Cozart.
I
I'd bat
know,
him
right?
eighth.
The old 8-9 switcheroo.
Why
But
not?
one thing about Johnny Cueto, you take him out of the Reds. If he's not pitching for the Reds, we're buried right now.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
We're buried.
And an arguable comparison there is Todd Frazier, who has, on the offensive side, been really the only standout, bar Desmond Mesoraco, who was on the DL for a time. Todd has been the equivalent of that for any production there. And again, you can argue that those two, they're the most valuable to their team because of how poor so many of the others on that team.
Well, go back to your question. Do we need a shortstop? Cozart didn't hit the first half of last year. He hasn't hit it all this year.
No.
What's he hitting, 224?
224.
You can't win with that. You can win with that if everybody else around him is healthy and hitting. But you can't. And what he becomes is more magnified in his offensive deficiencies because of that. I mean, 188 with runners in scoring position, 27 RBI. I mean, there are part-time players on championship teams that have 27 RBI before the month of August.
And
part-time players.
And the reason he does still start, we all know, is because he has a phenomenal glove, and
they have no one else.
And nobody else that can measure up. Actually, some numbers here on Cozart's defensive runs saved. Zach Cozart is leading the league in defensive runs saved. He's plus 20. Which so that you got to look at your value now on a team like the Reds. Do you need to make sure that you have the best fielding shortstop?
There's the question right there. Is Cozart's glove worth his bat? And I'm here to tell you no. I'd rather have a guy that booted 4 or 5 but drove in 10 to 12 than have a guy that prevents 4 to 5 and he couldn't drive his mother home.
The guy to me is worthless as boobies on a skateboard. I mean, I just don't think he's worth anything. I think we could ship him along with a lot of those relievers and the big sandwich. We can let's just get him out of there. The guys, we had our opportunity to get like a Starlin Castro or something like that. It just never happened.
Do you happen to know the definition of the word modernicity? What was it?
Modernity.
Oh yeah, it's what he said.
Yeah. Skateboard?
Yeah, he's worthless.
That's what that means.
Cozart is worthless. He doesn't bring anything to this team except for a couple good looks where, he's getting winks at the ladies, but I don't think we need him.
You know what my biggest mistake is? Not necessarily wandering into this studio every Thursday at 2. It's being the only one that speaks English on this show.
Okay.
That happens.
All right, what's on tap? What's coming up here? We got the Rocks, the Birds, and it's on the road. The Rockies are not good, are they?
No, and Troy Tulowitzki is having season-ending hip surgery.
Wow. Oh, I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, so he's out, and he's, he was an MVP candidate before that. So that's a huge bonus for us to possibly pick up some momentum going out to Denver.
Yeah, they should have done it here with your boys from Boston.
Yeah. Well, and not to backtrack on that, but when you make moves at the trade deadline, Walt Jocketty, things happen, and those Red Sox are living proof of that.
If you don't make changes at the trade deadline, it sends a message not only to your fans, it sends it to your team.
Yes.
That this is acceptable.
That complacency is okay.
But, on the other hand, what's he got to trade? He's not going to trade starting pitching.
Yeah.
There's nobody in that bullpen that anybody wants, not named Chapman or Leake or Broxton. And I'm not sure they can't have Broxton this week. No. I'd be happy to send him somewhere.
Could have moved Votto. No one wants that contract. But bucket of balls for that guy right now.
Yeah,
some tickets to the tennis match.
That's true.
He'll come back. Come back.
I do. I think Votto will be back.
He will be.
We want to see him
back, and he will.
Phillips starts his rehab this week.
That's
too.
correct.
At the end of the week, right?
He's on his way.
All right, that's good news.
I think what has to happen now is you got to squeeze the towel. You got to look at what's working. And get every last ounce out of you can. You mentioned earlier Chris Negron. Yeah. Squeeze that towel. That guy should be starting second base every game on this road trip.
He's looking good.
Every game on this road trip.
Well, if your options are him or Schumacher, I start Negron.
Absolutely. I mean, and 259 so far for Negron, which is better than half of the Reds' consistent starting
might have been
line.
what
That's
Phillips
incredible.
was hitting before he got hurt.
Right.
That was pretty darn close.
Right around there. So he is measuring up for himself. He's not proven in the field consistently, but if you have him at second base, what do you got to lose? Like you said, 1 or 2 goes through when he makes up for it at the plate.
Yeah.
And then the Cardinals in St. Louis.
And then the Cardinals, the dreaded Cardinals, who have a new pitcher that we'll see for, I think, for the first time, John Lackey, who's been an American League pitcher for the most of his career.
Well, he's somebody's lackey.
Somebody's lackey, yeah.
We got to get Cueto to pitch every one of those games in St. Louis.
Have Cueto pitch all 3 of those games in St. Louis, and have Frazier hit 4 times in the lineup, like you said.
I called this.
With
you
Billy
guys.
Hamilton in between.
And everybody else can just go to the Arch.
I mean, World Series then.
That would be unbelievable.
That
Can you imagine if Cueto throws a complete game and then they bring him back the next day and he's standing out there?
Yeah.
And then on Sunday,
Dusty's move, right?
Then on Sunday, he puts the glove on this hand and throws left-handed.
Yes, that's.
I would pay cash money to see that.
At this point, with Bailey possibly on the DL trip there, I think he's headed that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what other options do you got?
Even like 3 innings each day, the first 3 innings each day.
That'd be great.
Can we do that?
Absolutely.
I'm game.
Then put him in and have him play third.
You know what?
Yeah, right.
You know what? You know what we need to do?
No. Oh!
You know who's
hell.
pitched a few times in his career?
Right.
Yeah, but he's still in the hospital.
Mr. Perhaps, but you put him up there with the bed and the IV intact, and you know what? That may just work out
Maybe a
for
beer
us.
in one hand and let him.
And they're retiring his jersey on August 31st.
They are retiring his jersey in Louisville.
Very nice.
Mr. Corky
Unbelievable.
Miller.
I like that.
Retiring Pete Rose's jersey in Florence. Go figure. Retiring Corky Miller's
When did he play for the Freedom?
jersey. Well, it was a very short stint back in
It must have been.
1970.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Corky's got his number retired.
Yep.
Pete's going to manage or coach third base for the Freedom.
Yeah.
And we've heard the word used today, modernity.
Modernity.
leave.
I'm getting ready to go to modernity here in a few minutes.
Now, let me just say, there's no other internet show that offers what we offer. There's none.
I haven't seen one yet.
It's not cocky.
We'd like to hear we'd like to not necessarily hear your tweets because honestly,
That would be strange.
that's your personal business. But we'd like you to read your tweets, if you wouldn't mind, on this new Twitter thing that's sweeping the country.
Yeah,
It's
we want
it's
to
out
know.
there.
We want to know.
Hashtag fifth mascot.
That's the
And
one.
it's spelled FIFTH, mascot, all one word.
Got to spell it out.
And if you send something that is reasonably good, that has
Inappropriate.
good grammar and doesn't begin with "Hey jerks," we'll read it. We'll read it.
I'll read that
Grammar
one
we
too,
will
though. I'll
forgive.
read
You've
the
read those.
Grammar
Yeah, I'll
we
read
will
those.
forgive.
And all of these shows, amazingly, are available for downloading in case you really want to goof off at work.
Yeah.
Back next Thursday at 2 o'clock, the fifth mascot, and only on WCPO.com. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.